Hello and welcome to Team PokeMart, your one-stop shop for the things that you need to stop and or shop for. And now I must start off this video by apologizing for the lack of fresh produce recently. Our latest hire has made the fatal mistake of not closing the warehouse window last night, and as such a plague of RATTATA and RATTATA have slipped in and chewed through all of my painstakingly well-maintained cabbages. Absolutely unbelievable. In fact, here's some of the CCTV footage, and I mean, just look at all of those beautiful subscribe buttons covered in bite marks and just, they're all ruined. And the only way I know to fix them would be for you to click on them, hint hint, which would also give you not only the satisfaction of helping out your old pal Liam, but also keeping you up to date with all of Team PokeMart's uploads. So it is definitely worth that quick and easy click. But anyway, back to the problem at hand. Once again, I'm going to invoke my right as a middle manager and palm this problem off to someone else. And by problem, I mean opportunity, an investment opportunity for you, the valued customer. So perhaps you could stop by Team PokeMart and catch 1 or 2 or 3 or 10 of these rat things. 10 would be the most helpful. And there's both Cantonian and Alolan forms running completely rampant out there. And I'll even tell you a bit about them in as pleasant of a tone as I can muster. So sit back, relax, and let's talk about rats. Starting with RATTATA, if you played the Generation 1 games, then you are by no means a stranger to this Pokemon, who was present in the very first route alongside Pidgey, which is great because you were promised a world of amazing magical creatures, and then all you encounter for quite some time are rats and pigeons. I mean, really, I could have just gone outside to do that. Taking the obvious shape of its namesake, RATTATA is covered in a purple coat with cream colors on its inner ear, muzzle, stomach, fingers, and toes, which may be an indication of lack of fur rather than a different color of fur altogether. They have big red eyes, which always seem to be angry, and fair enough, I would be too if I was a rat. And if you want to determine what gender your RATTATA is, then you can easily do so by taking a look at the length of its long, throbbing whiskers. If they're long, then you've got yourself a male there, buddy, and if they're short, well, then it's a female. Furthermore, its tail is curled at the end, which seems to be a common design choice used for Gen 1 Pokemon, with other examples including Meowth, Persian, and Vulpix. Taking a look at RATTATA's behavior can tell us a bit about its large teeth. A RATTATA's teeth are constantly growing. According to its Fire Red Pokedex entry, it needs to perpetually chew and gnaw on things to file them down so they don't end up bigger than the rest of its body. It also uses these front teeth for a lot of its attacks, with other moves relying on its speed and using its small body to evade any shenaniganry from its enemies. And as we've recently discovered, the RATTATA are absolute pests when it comes to anything food related. Hanging around rubbish bins and collecting whatever delicious dinners it can get its monstrously large teeth into. And if it does find an area that regularly has food scraps, like say the back alley of a certain PokeMart, it will decide that that spot is its new home, proceeding to plonk out babies left, right, and center, assumedly with the help of a second RATTATA, because that's how biology works, I think. But whilst RATTATA has a clear goal of finding food and settling down, it has a very cautious, classic Darwinian nature and will always be on alert. Even as it sleeps, RATTATA will move its ears around to listen out for any potential enemies. And then, after a long life of foraging as a baby rat, eventually this little guy will grow up, and at level 20, RATTATA will evolve into a Raticate. And so right off the bat, it is clear as day that this no longer holds any allusions to mousehood, and this is clearly a big ol' rat boy, despite the fact that it is known as the mouse Pokemon. This is not a mouse. If this is what your mouse looks like, then I do not want to see your rats. Losing its purple fur color, it now sports a natural brown color with the same cream stomach. This time its fur is ruffled, very ruffled, and we can see Raticate's hands, feet, and tail are more or less hairless looking, much like how these parts would be on an actual rat. Its eyes are black and still looking angry AF, and it has now got a lower set of those dangerous front teeth, which are sure enough to give one nasty, piercing, and potentially limb-removing bite. And if you think I'm only joking, then well, shame on you for thinking that I have a sense of humor. But also, Raticate's teeth are so powerful that they can chew through rocks, logs, and walls, and even topple concrete buildings by gnawing at the supports, which I'm not going to lie is making me very nervous for the future of this particular Team PokeMart building. So I would definitely avoid getting too close to a wild Raticate, for these Pokemon are happy to get incredibly violent if they feel threatened, and they tend to feel threatened almost perpetually. On its cheeks are 3 whiskers, which Raticate will use to balance itself, as I imagine due to its fairly rounded body and lack of long legs, or potentially legs at all, it would wobble around from side to side a fair bit, kind of like a penguin full of fish. Speaking of, these feet are actually webbed, apparently, and I say apparently because it's not visually evident, but they can be used to swim in rivers to hunt for a fresher feast than what they may find in the trash cans of land. If the Raticate can be bothered, that is, and that is a big if. Although Cantonian Raticate found in the Alola region are known to swim from island to island, which should highlight the power it holds in its feet as well as impressive overall stamina. Now, having brought up Alola, we have another sister line to examine in the Sun and Moon games, because this evolutionary family was given a brand new, well, sort of new, mostly the same form. No longer just a normal type, Alolan Rattata definitely looks the part for its dark normal dual typing. So I guess it's kind of like Rattata is going through his goth phase. He's still quote unquote normal, but he's taken on a bit of a darker persona. I mean, it looks pretty similar to its Cantonian relative, but the coloring is not the only difference between these two Rattos. Alolan Rattata's whiskers appear to be more chunky and are right by its nose, kind of like a bushy British moustache. These same chunky shapes can be seen protruding from its ear tips and its tail, giving it an overall more rugged rat look. Alolan Rattata also tend to be more greedy and are happy to chew holes in people's doors, sneaking into their homes and stealing whatever delicious food it can get its teeth into. Its chunky whiskers help it locate specific foods with ease, due to them giving Rattata an enhanced sense of smell. And being nocturnal, these shenanigans tend to happen at night, and it will always make sure to bring lots and lots of food back for the leader of the pack, Raticate. So here comes Big Chungus, the Alpha Rat, the glorious Alolan Raticate. And there are a few changes to Raticate, so let's look over them one at a time. Firstly, his coloring. He now dons a black coat with a dark brown belly in a rugged shale. In fact, all of its fur looks much more feral compared to its Cantonian form, and very much fulfills the design brief of ruffled rat. Its cheeks appear to be inflated as if to make room for more food, or as if its fat rat face is full of food at all times. Alolan Raticate even seems to be growing a poorly maintained beard of sorts as well. And as mentioned before, Raticate will become the leader of a given group of Rattata, although how exactly is a leader enacted? Well, I couldn't tell you. Perhaps it's a first come first serve type of situation, and whichever Rattata evolves first gets to be worshipped as Rat God by the remaining and comparatively lowly peasantry Rattata. Now, when Raticate creates a rat pack, the minions will claim their territory and then go out to source food specifically for the Raticate leader. So much so that eventually Raticate will be unable to continue eating, at which point the leftovers need to serve the Rattata cohort. And as such, there are often fights over food amongst these groups, as well as with rival Rattata gangs. So it's kind of like West Side Story, only with rats and actually entertaining. Just like Alolan Rattata, its Raticate counterpart can be a bit of a picky eater and has a fancy for the nicer culinary adventures. So if you're part of this gang, I would advise any Rattata watching to not just rummage inside any old bin for a scrap or two like you're currently doing with my store, but instead just go out and find a few Pokédollars and I, Team PokeMart Manager, will hook you up with the freshest of bread straight from our in-store bakery. Currently for our Alolan chums, there are only Pokedex entries for Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon, Let's Go Pikachu, and Eevee, with unfortunately no entry for them in the Sword and Shield games, which is honestly such a shame. Hopefully we can learn more about the gluttonous and mischievous Alolan forms of these Pokemon very soon, because I just know that there is more to discover, and you know what? Maybe you could be the trainer to make these discoveries, after paying me a reasonable price, of course. That aside, let's have a gander at the trainers best known for using these kinds of Pokemon. And interestingly, or not, I cannot find a single or normal dark type expert who uses this line. And that's probably because it's one of the more earlier, crappier Pokemon you find in the wild, and it's understandable that it will eventually get swapped out for something, you know, just a little less rat. However, I can't just leave you hanging there, can I? No way. Luckily for us, we have a very important trainer with a very tragic Raticate, as when playing Pokemon Red or Blue, you will come across Blue in the Pokemon Tower, seemingly paying his respects to a former comrade. And prior to this encounter, Blue had a Raticate on his team. However, upon battling him here, the Raticate is no longer on his team, implying that it is the one who had passed away. It's not officially explained whether or not the Raticate died, but the implications are heavy to say the least. Although perhaps Blue did what I just suggested and swapped Raticate out for something a bit less Raticate-y. And on a happier note, our final prominent trainer is of course the most prominent of all of the prominent trainers, being youngster Joey. This is the first NPC trainer you get to battle in the Gold and Silver games. And of course, Joey has a famous Rattata on his team, which he likes to boast is in the quote top percentage of Rattata. And you get the opportunity to battle with Joey 5 times, so long as you have his Pokegear number, and upon your third battle, Rattata will have evolved into a Raticate. And of course, this trainer has become subject to memes from Pokemon fans all over, mocking him and his beloved Rattata, but in the process turning them into an iconic duo. And rather briefly, Ash Ketchum himself owned a Raticate, however this was short-lived. In the episode Battle Aboard the St. Anne, no idea why it wasn't called the SS Anne in the anime, maybe it's a World War II thing, but a trade was organized between Ash and a gentleman trainer, swapping out Ash's iconic Butterfree for a Raticate. However, throughout the episode, Ash realizes that he is a moron, and thankfully, he is able to get his Butterfree back. Some more fun facts about the Rattata line. Rattata's original name ended with the letter K, making its name Rat Attack. Very tongue-in-cheek. The illustrious title of the mouse Pokemon is not exclusive to Rattata, and is also shared with Pikachu, Raichu, and the Sandshrew line, even though the Sandshrew line appears to look more like it follows the ways of the armadillo. Cantonian Rattata stands on all four legs, whereas its Alolan form stands up on its back legs, kind of like Stuart Little. And furthermore, all Alolan Rattata also sound like Michael J. Fox, which is a pretty stunning coincidence. Raticate's name is a combination of the words rat, obviously, and either eradicate or masticate. I said masticate, not masturbate. Masticate means to chew, you absolute sick fuck. And finally, a truly useless fact, Pokedex entries for Rattata mention its ability to swim, however, it cannot learn Surf, which makes sense. It is a normal Pokemon, why would it need to learn a water move? That's stupid, you're stupid, now buy my rats. And there you go, a Pokemon we've all started off with, and in fact for many of us, it may have been our very first catch. And just look how far this lad has come. From humble beginnings in Kanto, to gaining a refreshed yet disheveled look and typing in the Alola region. But please do make sure to stop by Team PokeMart and say hi, which you can do in the comments below. And if you're interested in some of our other merchandise, then please do click on these tantalizing linkies over here. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel for regular updates of all of our new stock. But for now, this has been Team PokeMart, and I'll see you next time.